Welcome to episode 2 of MMA Match Chat. I'm Fabian Stewart, and today we are going to go through UFC 291. And what a card it was. It was fantastic. It delivered on many fronts. Main event was fantastic. The whole main card was fantastic, and there were some great fights on the prelims. So you can't really ask for much more. It was at elevation, and most of the fights got stopped before fighters could get gassed. So that was a lucky one, unlike the last time they were there, when every fight suffered the consequences of elevation. And it was only the finish of the main event with Leon Edwards getting that head kick that made it okay. But yeah, a great fight card. I'm a little under the weather. That's why I got me tea. If I go into a coughing fit, I'll just cut that out because it could happen. But I've got to get this done anyway, because if I don't talk about it now, well, people lose interest, because that's the thing with UFC. No matter how good a card is, how well it delivers, by midweek, the week after, people move on. So yeah, let's get stuck into it. I'll start off talking about the main event just to get that out of the way, and then I might start at the beginning of the main card, go through there, and then from there, I'll talk about a few of the fights in the prelims I thought were worth talking about. I'll chuck some timestamps in if you want to skip ahead to any particular fights. And yeah, let's get stuck into it. So, wow, a great main event. It was a good fight. We knew it was going to be. It was shorter than most people probably thought it was going to be. Dustin Poirier didn't wrestle. He just standed there with him and ate a head kick. got knocked out in the second round. Round one was, I just rewatched it then before recording this to get it fresh, and that's the beauty of a second round stoppage, is it takes 6 minutes to go watch the whole fight again, so it's easy. Round one was competitive. I thought Poirier probably edged round one, but it was very close. They both started trading lead kicks. Poirier had Chris Boston, not even a clinch, not even a fake of a takedown. Those guys were just like, we're just going to bang. A lot of leg kicks. Gaethje did throw one. He threw one head kick in round one, which partially landed. And yeah, other than that, he was doing a weird thing when he was blocking Gaethje, where he was just put his hands up and kind of bend all the way over. And Poirier kind of picked up on that, but he didn't do much with it. Like, he could have started throwing knees or something. It was weird. I don't know why Gaethje was doing that, but yeah. Round two, he throws a right hand and he follows it up with a right foot, and bang! Poirier gets his hands up too, but it just goes around and it kind of hits him on the back of the head. But Poirier also turns. He turns and kind of exposes the back of the head, and he goes down, and he falls down. He fell down really badly. Like, it looked like he was just kind of out. But if you watch it, he's not out. His eyes are still there. It's not like the Usman head kick. He was out for a minute. But yeah, he went down pretty badly, and then Gaethje comes in with a follow-up hammer fist, and Herb Dean, to his credit, he flew in there as quick as he could. He almost just jumps on him, but he doesn't stop that follow-up shot. And yeah, it was beautiful. So well done to Gaethje. To do that after losing that first fight with Poirier. He said in his press conference afterwards, it sucks in MMA because when you lose, you don't often get the chance to avenge it. It's rare that you do. And you just got to suck it up and live with it. In any other sport, you lose to a certain team, you play them later in the year, you play them in finals, you for sure play them again. And yeah, to get that one back is great. And he looked so much better than the first time they fought. Absolutely. They pointed out in commentary that he had nose surgery since then, so he was breathing better. And I believe he had eye surgery since then as well, because he used to have really bad eyesight, Gaethje. To the point where if you watch his older fights, his first few fights in UFC, he would feel people out. He would kind of touch them and then throw, because he couldn't see where they are. And how you fight with fucking impaired vision is beyond me. It's ridiculous enough to fight with completely perfect vision. let alone to be fucking fighting a blur. So he's fixed that up, and yeah, he looks good. He looks dangerous, and now he's in the title picture. He's essentially the number one contender, which is it's crazy because before the fight, sorry, I'm just gonna adjust this. Before the fight, there was no talk of the winner of this is going to be a number one contender. It was just kind of like, that's why they did the BMF belt. They never even called it number one contender. But it's funny when you have a fight between two top 5 guys and there's a really good finish, then it's all of a sudden, it's like, well, he has to fight for the title now. But if Gaethje won on a decision, even in a fight of the year, they wouldn't be like, well, he has to fight for the title now. But when he knocks him out in the second round with a head kick, it's like, well, he must fight for the title. And that kind of puts it in a weird spot, because you've got Charles and Islam booked in October, I think it is, in a couple of months. And Volk said he wants the winner of that, and Volk's going to probably be fighting Poirier before the end of the year, because he wants to stay active, and he said he's going to get a fight in before the end of the year, and he wants to fight 3-4 times a year. Volk, especially with where he's at, he just wants to make money and keep going. So he would, assuming he gets through to Poirier, he would have a good argument for the winner of Charles and Islam. But now you got Gaethje. And who's Gaethje going to fight after this? Like, it's fair to give him a title shot. So, it's in a bit of a weird predicament there. But congrats to him. Do I have anything else worth putting on my notes? No, just that he's well done, Gaethje, and that he's a savage. So, let's go back to the start of the main card now, which was Holland and Chiesa. And Holland looked fantastic. In hindsight, that Das was pretty lethal from before the fight started, because he has such long arms, Holland, and Chiesa is terrible at defending Das chokes. He's lost twice by submission to Das chokes in the UFC. This is the third time he's lost to Das chokes. He even said on DC's the DC and RC show, he kind of joked that he's going to lose by Das choke, and it's like, well, that's a bad omen. And then sure enough, it happened, and he took his gloves off. I think he'll fight again, but he doesn't look like he has it in him to chase that title, like he said. And he always said that if he doesn't think he has a shot at being the champion, he will hang it up, which is very honest of him if he does hang it up like that, because too many guys just keep going when they shouldn't. So but Holland looked fantastic. He said the knee didn't land. He gets him in the clinch. He throws his knee. It looks like it lands, and then Holland shoots on the double, and that's when he just wraps up the Das, gets it, turns him over, and he taps straight away. And Holland said the knee didn't land, but he said he watched a lot of tape, and when you put Chiesa in a vulnerable situation, he panics. And sure enough, that's what he did. And then he kind of threw some shade at Neil Magny. He said if Magny did that, then he would have finished him too. But anyway, a bit of shade from Holland, but he looked great. He had great sprawls throughout that. In about a minute in, I think he had a really good sprawl, just strong. He looked fantastic, Holland. So and then he says he's going back to 185, which I don't get, but they call him Big Mouth, so who knows what he's talking about. But yeah, he looked the part, and you'd love to see him against even better welterweights, and see what happens there. So well done to Holland. And if Chiesa is done, well done on a great career in the UFC. He's beat some formidable opponents, and maybe he just doesn't have it in him anymore if he doesn't see a path to the title. But a lot of fighters say that, I never trust anyone who retires in the octagon, because too many times people have you lose, you're down, you take your gloves off in there, but then you think about it, and then you go look at how much money you're gonna make doing other things, and you go, oh, maybe I'll fight again. So we'll see. But he's got a good job lined up as a commentator in the UFC. He does a lot of work with them. So yeah, we'll see. Well done to Kevin Holland. What do we have next? Tony Ferguson and Bobby Green. Goddamn. Tough to watch for a Tony fan. 6 losses in a row for him now. It is well and truly time to hang him up, but he will not hang them up, and he will be back. And I'm sure Dana will put him on again. And to be honest, if Dana doesn't book him and they release him, well, he's probably just go fight bare knuckle, which is going to be way worse. So let's hope he keeps fighting in the UFC, because Tony's just going to keep fighting regardless. He'd fight in the street if he's not doing it in the UFC. So I'd rather see him get beat in the UFC than where he can get submitted than in bare knuckle, where he's going to really hurt himself. So yeah, but the fight. Well, the first round, Tony was looking good. He landed the big right hand, knocked Bobby Lee down. Bobby Lee, Jesus Christ, Bobby Green. It's late when I'm recording this. Bobby Lee is a person that Tony could beat. So maybe they should look at booking that. Maybe on the Zuckerberg versus Elon Musk card. Get another celebrity on that one. Yeah, that would be a good one for Tony, not for Bobby. for poor Bobby Lee. But Bobby Green, yeah, he knocked him down in the first round with a big right hand, and he looked good. Then there was an eye poke, and that definitely could have. It changed the momentum, and it sucks because he was looking okay, but then he was, and whether he was still affected by that after the fact, we'll never know. But I'm sure it was. Getting poked in the eye can't help, and he kind of had a bit of momentum before that, but then after that, it was just all Bobby Green. He was faster. He was hitting him with the big shots. Even in the end of that first round, Bobby Green, despite the knockdown, like I know in boxing, it's like if you get the knockdown, you're guaranteed to win that round. But Bobby Green just landed big shots and won that round, won round 2 and won round 3 until 10 seconds left. He gets the head and arm choke, and Tony made questionable decisions as well, going for weird Imanari rolls that just didn't even come close, and then he just ends up straight on bottom side control and then just defending and just getting pummeled. He was looking for triangles, but it's when your chin is gone and you're not as quick. Like, I don't think that's the way you should be trying to fight Bobby Green. He clearly trained his defense there. His defense, he was hiding his arms. He was doing the right things, Bobby Green, from the top there. And and then the third round again, he might have slipped. No, I think he went for something else weird. Ends up on the bottom, and then it happened again. And Bobby Green's like, just stand up. He stood him up a couple of times. And then he beat him clean with a submission at the end of it. And Tony was a step behind all night, but he didn't look horrible. But it's time, Tony. It's time. Father Time is caught up. Look after yourself. You're not chasing that title anymore, but he won't. He's got a few screws loose, and look, if it, I don't know, could you? But Bobby Green's already a step down in competition, because I know he's got a 6-fight losing streak, but they are, Gaethje, Oliveira, Dariush, my God, who are the other ones? How the fuck can I not think of this now? It's all just high-level guys. This was the first real Chandler. This is the first big step down in competition. No, it's not big. Bobby Green's good, but he's not those top 5 guys. And he still looked a step behind. Nate Diaz, Nate Diaz was a step down for sure from Chandler, from those other 4 names who were all top 5 guys. Nate Diaz was at one point in that career could hang with those guys, but you can't anymore. Let's be real. But Bobby Green again stepped down, I think, still from Nate Diaz, and yeah, I don't know what you can do. You could put him against winners of the Contender Series, and it might be okay. Because that's one thing UFC doesn't do well is when their former champions are on the end of their career, they still match them up with killers because they just want to. Obviously, the fighters themselves, they still believe they could beat anyone because it's in their mentality. They're fighters, but like Anderson Silva on his way out, Uriah Hall, Adesanya, and Cannonier, his last 3 fights, and then Dana's like, he needs to retire. It's like, well, you've fucking given him top 5 guys, and the guy's so far away from that at this point in his career. Like, what are you doing? So at least they are giving Tony a step down in competition. Like, Bobby Green's not a ranked fighter. But, yeah, I don't know what you do after this. If you're Dana and Tony comes back and says, hey, boss, I'm ready. When can you put me on? I mean, he runs slap fights, doesn't he? So what? He's not gonna say, yeah, Tony, let's go. I mean, if you could do, you could do Tony McGregor. I would be happy. I'd be okay with that because McGregor is well and truly not what he was, and it would give Tony a payday that he deserves, and they hate each other. It would be fun. So maybe they could organize that. And for McGregor, that would be the easiest fight of anyone that would make sense. So I don't know. Tony, we love you. But, yeah. It's probably time. Moving on. It is the third fight was supposed to be Wonderboy and Pereira, but that was cancelled because Pereira weighed in 3 pounds over. So he weighed in at 170, because 176 is the... welterweight's 170. What am I talking about? He weighed in at 174. So welterweight is 170. They have if it's non-title, they can weigh in at a 1 pound limit. And he was 3 pounds over that. And Wonderboy said, I'm not going to fight him. And I can see, like, this woman is right. He's signed to fight a guy at a certain weight. And he's in the past has fought Darren Till when Darren Till didn't make weight. And there's an unfair advantage. And especially if you weigh in 3 pounds heavy and you're not like on death's door on the scales. Like if Pereira was on the scales and he was at death's door like he did everything in his fucking power and he was 3 pounds heavy, I think, well, you should take the fight. 3 pounds isn't a whole lot in the scheme of things if he's gone down to his absolute worst and he's still at that weight because he's still suffered and he's not going to be in 24 hours. He will be heavier, but he's not going to be recovered. But sometimes fighters know they're not going to make the weight, and if they cut 100% all they can, they might be half a pound or a pound overweight. So they think, well, I'll just get 3 pounds over, so I'm not absolutely murdering myself, and that's not fair. So he didn't look like he was on death's door on the scales. He looked fine. He had a freaking top knot on his head. He could have cut that off. That would have been a pound at least, surely. And Wonderboy doesn't owe it to anyone, so it's fine. It sucks. It sucks, but he's got a handful of fights left, and yeah, it's well within his right. He doesn't owe it to anyone. It came out the other on Monday that Wonderboy wasn't paid at anything, which is fucking bullshit because he signed and he delivered his part. He should get his show money, absolutely, or at least a percentage of it, because his opponent didn't make weight. There's got to be some fine print about that, but yeah. And if it was another fighter, if this was Colby Covington and his opponent was 3 pounds heavy and Colby said, I'm not going to do it, the internet would fucking revolt and say, you're a pussy, blah, blah, blah. But Wonderboy's like, everything he's done in his career, he's the nicest motherfucker. Everyone's like, it's fine. We're happy. We respect you, Wonderboy, for doing that. But if it was a fighter that people don't like very much, they wouldn't be too kind about it. But yeah, that fight's not going to happen anymore, which sucks. But instead, we got Derek Lewis versus my God, what was his name? DeLima on the main card. And the best thing about this is we didn't have to watch these heavyweights get gassed at altitude. It was fantastic. Derek Lewis said, I'm going to run in and throw a switch flying knee right off the belt. Bang, straight on his fucking nose. Ground and pounds him and finishes him in 30 seconds. It was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. Derek Lewis is on a 3-fight losing streak. This is the last fight on his contract. And it is the best result he could have hoped for. He had the most memorable knockout. I know the final was fantastic, but just the fact that the heavyweight Derek Lewis throws a flying knee to start off and it lands is absolutely unreal. And yeah, he's now in a position where he can kind of renegotiate for a really good deal because he's done so much for the company and he still has a lot to offer. He got in he's in the best shape he's ever been. He's running. When he was on Joe Rogan a couple of years ago, he said he doesn't run, he doesn't do any cardio, just a bit of sex and that's it. But firstly, anything Derek Lewis says, you have to take with a grain of salt because he says a lot of things just to be funny, I feel. But now he's running miles. He's doing serious cardio. He's got six pack, not a great six pack, but for a 265-pound fighter, on a weight cut, so he probably walks around closer to 300 pounds, which is like 130 kilos. It's a pretty good six pack, you know. So he's looking good, and he's and it's crazy because he's not like some people think it's out of character, but he always does stuff like that. Runs in with a flying side kick, or like just runs in with flying knees. Like he does throw crazy unorthodox stuff like that all the time. But this is the first time I think it's landed like flying knee to start his fight. Unreal. You feel a little bit for DeLima, but you know, this wasn't either. It wasn't like DeLima was going out for a glove touch or anything like that. It was just because, you know, they came together. Well, he kind of came and then they stopped and then he ran him through the knee. Yeah, well done. Then he took his pants off, and jumped on the cage in his underwear. Said his balls were hot. Cuts a great promo. Yeah, and now he's in a position to renegotiate a great deal with the UFC. And they use him as well. He is the gatekeeper of the heavyweight division. And even with a six-pack, there's fighters like Garn and probably Spivak that I think are always going to beat him. I would say Aspinall, those kind of guys are always going to... And Pavlovich, they're always going to be better than Derek Lewis. But, you know, the people love him. He's worth a good deal of money to the UFC. But now, interestingly, PFL have a serious candidate for someone to bid for to get that Francis Ngannou first title fight in the PFL. And it's like if it was Derek Lewis, there's no way Derek Lewis is the second best heavyweight on the planet. Like, no one's going to say that. But if not Derek Lewis, who is Ngannou going to fight? Because whoever the PFL signs for Ngannou to fight is going to be worse than Derek Lewis because the best heavyweights in the world are all in the UFC. And especially the names. And it's like, well, Derek Lewis has a win over him. So, you know, as bad as that first fight was, that kind of makes sense. So I think PFL are going to throw some serious cheddar at Derek Lewis here, which would be great, you know, because then you got this fight. It's not just Ngannou against someone the world's never heard of, even if they are a great fighter. I have no idea what goes on in one's heavyweight division, except I just know that they don't really test for steroids there. And who's I think Bader's the heavyweight champion at Bellator, so I don't know about that either. I think Derek Lewis is better than him for sure, especially at this point in his career. But yeah, it's a great opportunity for two big names like that. That could do a serious pay-per-view, Derek Lewis and Ngannou, and get a potential heavyweight division in PFL really rolling. And I would love to see that because it'd be a big fuck you to the UFC, that's for sure. But yeah, Derek Lewis, well done. He's done he's the perfect fight for him. You couldn't ask for anything more. So well done to Derek Lewis there. And then in the co-main event, you had Jan Blachowicz versus Alex Pereira. And interesting fight. Sure enough, I said in my first podcast that the secret for Jan would be to wrestle. And about 3 seconds in, he shoots a single. He doesn't set it up, doesn't do anything. I don't even think he threw any strikes. He just went straight for it. And it's then he struggled. He took a minute and a half to get him down in that first round. Got on his back, got the body triangle on the back. Didn't really lay any hands. Was just trying to get a choke. And Alex Pereira did pretty well in that first round, defending it all. And somehow Blachowicz gassed in the first round, which is kind of ridiculous because he spent most of it being on Pereira's back, and Pereira was, carrying his own weight and Blachowicz's weight. But he gassed, and pardon me, a bit of ASMR, drinking tea there. Then round 2, Pereira did really well. He stuffed a couple of takedowns brilliantly. I think he might have got taken down, got straight back up. And then he beat him on the feet. And he had him in the end of the second round covering up on the fence. And it was exactly like the first time he finished Izzy. You're like, because Jan was just covering up in a tight guard. And you're like, oh, he's just going to let loose. And I think it would have been okay if he did. But he certainly learned his lesson from his second fight in the UFC against Izzy, where he started to let loose. And that's how he got counted and knocked out. He was really measured. He was, there was 30 seconds left, and he was Jan was just looking at the floor, hands covering his face, but he picked all his shots. So he didn't get him out of there then, but he was definitely being more measured with that. And then round 3, which is where the fight was won or lost, because it was clearly one round either way going into that. It was a good fight. A good round, competitive. And Pereira stuffed a couple of takedowns. They kind of traded. Pereira got the better of him on the feet. He was throwing wicked leg kicks as well. Pereira. He doesn't set them up. His top half doesn't give it away. He just throws it from the bottom half. And if you don't get as much power if you're not torquing your top half, but it's just bang, snapping those low calf kicks, and you could see it affecting Jan. That third round, he won it on the feet, and then 30 seconds left, Jan, you could see it as well. He was so straight, Pereira, and Jan, I was like, oh, he's going to take him down. Sure enough, he just takes him straight down with ease. 30 seconds left, but he doesn't do anything with it, and it's like people say, oh, well, in the judge's eyes, he finishes it on top, but he didn't do anything with it. So I'm not mad that the decision went to Pereira. I think Pereira was looking like he wanted to try and push forward. Jan was being super defensive, just looking to wrestle to win the fight, and he was gassing. So, Jan was saying, oh, I've been robbed. I don't know about a robbery. It was close. Came down to that third round, and, it was a split decision. You could give that third round either way. Like, if it went the other way, you'd go, yeah, understandable. People would be out there, of course, saying Pereira was robbed, because that's what people do in a close fight. Doesn't matter how close the fight is, someone's robbed. That's the rules. But yeah, it was a good fight. 5 rounds would have been nice. I would have liked to see 2 more rounds, even with Jan getting gassed. But Pereira's gas tank was pretty good, especially for elevation. In his kickboxing career, he kind of struggled with gassing out. So it's obviously something he's worked on. I don't know if he trained at elevation for this or to acclimatize. And that's the thing you need. If you want to properly acclimatize, you have to train you have to be there for at least 3 weeks to really acclimatize. And most of the fighters on the UFC don't have the money to move and train somewhere for 3 weeks prior to their fight. So, well done, Pereira. Great fight. And now he's in a position to fight for the title next. He kind of has to. Like you've got. I don't know how far away Yuri is from return. But he can't be that far away. Like surely within the next 6 months, and then you would book him and Pereira, or him and Ankalaev. But the smart thing to do would be booking him and Pereira, because that would sell a lot more pay-per-views. It would get a lot more interest. Nobody cares about Ankalaev. He is, I think, the danger or the dark horse in that division. If, I think he's, one of, if not the most dangerous man in that division. And don't book him and Pereira, because he will be able to get Pereira to the ground and probably and best him there, Ankalaev. So I think the smart thing would be to book Pereira and Yuri Prohozkovich. I think I pronounced that right. For the lightweight title. And Pereira he's done fantastic things in his UFC career. He went 3 fights, fought for the title, won the title, lost the title, come back in a number 1 contenders fight at light heavyweight, and he's going to be fighting for the title next. Like, it's and this here could have been for the interim. Like, he's done fantastic things. And his takedown defense is looking pretty solid. And that's the thing, when you're as good at him as kickboxing, you train your kickboxing still to stay sharp. But when it comes to his wrestling and jiu-jitsu, he doesn't need to spend as much time to learn as other fighters do, because he doesn't need to learn how to put the arm bars on. He doesn't need to learn triangles, omoplates. He doesn't need to learn all of these things. He doesn't need to learn takedowns, because he's never going to do it. He just needs to learn to defend takedowns and to get up and to defend submissions. So it instantly takes, when you're not learning anything offensive, that's half the things you don't need to learn. So you've got half as much stuff to learn, so you can learn it a lot quicker, because he's not going to be submitting anybody in the UFC. Let's be real. It's never going to happen. If he submits some, even when he had that guillotine, you're like, oh fuck, I'll eat my hat if he gets this. But he was never in any danger. It kind of gave you shades of John Jones and Machida, but it was never in Yum. Put his thumbs up, but he's never going to submit anyone in the UFC. And if it does, it's just going to be like a crazy, he catches someone, probably after hurting them with strikes. So his game plan's always going to be striking. His striking is elite. He can out-kickbox anyone in that division. He's just got to work his takedown defenses and his submission defenses and getting back up. And he looked great getting back up. He did really well. And his takedown defenses look well. So he's doing all the right things. That's for sure. Anyway, moving on to there was a couple of good fights on the prelims. So Jake Matthews fought a guy called Flowers, which is a surname that probably got him bullied in high school, and that's probably why he became a fighter, I would imagine, having a surname like Flowers, Flowers, spelt like the pretty little flowers that grow in the garden. And this Flowers guy, he took the fight on short notice. I'm not sure how short notice he took it. But he took the fight on short notice, and it's a fun fight. I would recommend going watching it, because Jake Matthews, it's just a lot happens. This Flowers guy in his UFC debut, the first 2 or 3 minutes is just wild, absolutely wild. And Jake Matthews is a 9-year UFC veteran. He's only 28, so he's been doing it since he's 19, which is kind of crazy. He just kind of weathers the storm. It's fine. He throws these teep kicks to the body, and they're lovely. They're just all landing to the body. And Flowers, with 2 minutes left in the first round, you can see he's getting tired. At one point, Jake hits him with the right hand, and then Flowers stumbles like he's rocked, and then he throws back, and then he's laughing, he points. He's having fun at least. He just played possum, but it was fun first round. Jake gets the first round. And then in the second round, 2 or so minutes in, Matthews throws another teep to the body, and it fucking hits him right here in the gut. And the bottom of his foot maybe brushes his cup, but it really doesn't look like it. And he goes down calling a nut shot, and the referee stops the fight. Says, Jake, go over there, gives him his 5 minutes, and the commentators go, oh, that looked bad, because they couldn't see it, and they saw it on the monitor, and they're straight away like, oh, well, that's legal shot. He needs to get back up. The crowd starts fucking booing like crazy when they see the replay of it. And then this Flowers is still just on the floor milking it. And he's gassed because he's been getting kicked in the stomach, and then he just got a huge kick to the gut there. But, the referee, I don't know, they should have someone watching the replay straight away that goes into him, says, I think it was Mark Goddard, say, hey, have a look at this, Goddard. And they say, oh, I mean, at that point, I would just wave it off. If you just go, oh, that's legal, the fight's over. But, or at least say, get up, your time stops now. But they didn't. And the crowd was just booing so crazy. So then by default, they're all riding Jake to get this win. And then he gets him down and he gets the submission. Rear naked chokes him. And then, it was a good win. But he misses a golden opportunity here, Jake Matthews. I guess he doesn't have much of a personality, but he missed an opportunity to submit him, give him the fingers, fuck you. Pump, the crowd would have loved it, because Flowers was a full heel here to the crowd, which made Jake Matthews the ultimate babyface because of the faked nut shot. He could have just been like, fuck you, got on the cage, the crowd would have loved it, but he submits him, and then he doesn't even celebrate. He straight away crouches down and pats him on the back like, hey, mate, and it's like, fuck, man, this guy just faked a nut shot, and you're here patting his back. And I get that he took the fight on short notice, so maybe that's why he was so sweet to him, but I think it was a missed opportunity on Jake Matthews' part to just be the ultimate fucking baby face beating the heel here, because the crowd was so into Jake Matthews because they were booing Flowers so much after the faked nut shot. But yeah, Jake looked good. Not much else to say. There was Roman, I don't know how the fuck to say that, Roman Kopylov, who looks like a gigantic Chase Hooper. I'll put a picture of Roman right here. Or maybe I won't. I don't know. We'll see. Just Google him. Maybe I'll get too lazy because it's late and I was like, oh, fuck it, I'll upload this tonight. So maybe there won't be a picture of him there. We'll see. But he looks like a giant version of Chase Hooper. If Chase Hooper took the super serum that Captain America takes, it would turn Chase Hooper into Roman Kopylov. Big scary Russian dude. Round 2 gets a beautiful head kick, and that was a good fight to watch. That about rounds it off because it is pretty late here. It's 1:30 in the morning. I've had a hell of a weekend, but I wanted to get this out to get it done. A few other things worth noting. Kamaru Usman was in the crowd supporting his teammate Justin Gaethje, and he was elated to see him get this head kick. And there's no camera on. The camera was on him. He was going crazy. And then a couple of minutes after that, on all the big screens, they showed Justin Poirier getting knocked out, and then the Kamaru Usman knockout, both at Salt Lake City, on the big screen next to each other. And I wish there was a camera on Kamaru's face to see that, because they'd done him dirty there. You got to wonder as well, because it was the same way. It was a lead hand followed by the lead kick. For Edwards, it was a left hand. Gaethje was a right, but it was the same setup at Salt Lake City. Something in that. You got to wonder if Trevor Whitman, Justin Gaethje, and Kamaru Usman's coach, that's where he got the idea from. But I doubt that. I don't think that was the idea that, well, Kamaru got knocked out by this, so I'm going to try to get JT to get the knockout like that. I don't think so. But another thing worth noting, I don't know if anyone spotted this, but in the I think it was round 2, in the middle of the Alex Pereira fight, while the fight's going on, in the bottom right-hand corner, there's a Prime advert that comes up with Adesanya doing Fucking Poatan's signature move. He does it in every fight. It's his signature move that he did after he knocked him out. And they put that in the broadcast mid-fight of Pereira. And I thought that was doing Pereira pretty dirty, to be honest. But yeah, that was also kind of funny. So I thought that was worth noting. Maybe I'll clip this for Instagram, because I got to try to make some clips of these to, make some reels to boost the listeners and the views. So I'll clip this and I'll put that on Instagram, because I thought that was pretty funny. That's pretty much it. I think that's all I got in my notes here. Yeah, it was a fun weekend. And this weekend we have Sandhagen versus Rob Font. It was supposed to be Sandhagen versus Usman Nurmagomedov, which would have been a much more highly anticipated fight. And now we get to see Rob Font and Sandhagen. But yeah, it's going to be it'll be a good one. Maybe I'll do a preview for that. Maybe not. We shall see. But it's about 40 minutes. I think I'll try and wrap it up here. Maybe I'll upload it tonight. Maybe not. We shall see. But I'm done talking. I'm going to go finish my tea and get to bed. But a good card. Good card. So thanks for listening. If you made it to the end here. I said in the first one that I set the bar at 5 viewers and a comment. I got 35 views and 2 comments. So exceeded my expectations wildly. Thanks for listening. Tell your friends about it. Follow for more. Subscribe. Like it. We're on all the socials except Facebook, but we're on the rest of them. MMA Match Chat. I'm Fabian Stewart, and I'm out.